It was just after 8:30 p.m. on October 12, 2012, when a calm voice rang through to a 911 dispatcher in Campbell County, Kentucky. "I killed my boyfriend. I just killed my boyfriend," the woman on the other end said, her voice oddly composed. The dispatcher, startled by the confession, asked what happened. "He was throwing me around the room. I shot him, in self-defense." The woman was 21-year-old Shayna Hubers. The man she claimed to have shot in self-defense was 29-year-old Ryan Poston, a charismatic attorney from a prominent Kentucky family. He was found slumped backward in a chair at his Highland Heights condo, riddled with 6 bullets, 3 in the head, 1 in the chest, and 2 to his extremities. But what began as a possible self-defense claim would soon unravel into something much darker. A tale of obsession, control, rejection, and a woman who refused to let go. Ryan Poston was the kind of man many admired. Sharply dressed, sharply spoken, with a degree from the University of Kentucky and a future many believed was limitless. His friends described him as witty, intelligent, and thoughtful. His law practice, though young, was gaining momentum. He came from a well-connected family with deep roots in the Kentucky legal and medical world. Shayna Hubers, by contrast, was a bright honors student majoring in psychology at the University of Kentucky. When they met in 2011 on Facebook, sparks flew quickly, at least for her. The two began dating, and Shayna quickly became enamored, infatuated even. Friends noticed it wasn't the healthiest relationship. There were frequent breakups, but Shayna always returned. She was possessive. She tracked Ryan's activities, monitored his texts, even memorized his social media passwords. When they weren't together, she texted and called him constantly, sometimes over 100 times a day. Ryan, according to friends and family, had begun to feel suffocated. He confided in friends that Shayna was crazy, and that he couldn't get rid of her. He tried to break up with her, but each time she found a way back in, often by showing up at his apartment uninvited, begging for another chance. Then came October 12, 2012, a day Ryan had been looking forward to for reasons Shayna wasn't part of. He had a date. And not just with anyone. He had plans to meet Audrey Bolt, Miss Ohio USA 2012. They'd met on Facebook, chatted for weeks, and were finally going to meet in person. But Ryan never made it to that date. According to Shayna's initial account, she had gone to Ryan's condo that evening to talk things through. She said the conversation turned heated. He became angry, violent. She claimed he grabbed her, slammed her against furniture, and reached for a gun. In a panicked act of self-defense, she got there first and pulled the trigger. 6 times. But her calm demeanor on the 911 call raised flags. Police brought her in for questioning that night. And that's when the story began to crack. Over 6 hours of videotaped interrogation, Shayna cried. Then she laughed. He danced. At one point she even said to herself, "I gave him the nose job he always wanted." It wasn't grief. It was performance. She seemed to relish the attention. In one chilling moment, she spun around and mimicked firing a gun, smiling as she imagined the shots. She told detectives how, after she shot Ryan once, he fell to the floor and was twitching and moaning in pain. So she shot him again, multiple times to put him out of his misery. That wasn't self-defense. That was execution. Prosecutors began to dig. They uncovered a storm of texts and emails Shayna had sent Ryan in the weeks leading up to the murder. Thousands of messages, many unanswered. She obsessed over him, accused him of cheating, begged him not to leave her. One text read, "When I go to the shooting range with you, I'll pretend it's you in front of me." And Ryan, he had been trying to get out. Just days before his death, he told friends he feared Shayna would hurt him if he tried to end it for good. He even joked darkly that he might not make it out alive. Then came the critical discovery, the gun. Ryan's father had purchased it for him for protection. Shayna knew exactly where it was. There was no sign of forced entry. She'd let herself in, just as she'd done many times before. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was premeditated. In April 2015, more than 2 years after the murder, Shayna Hubers finally stood trial. The courtroom was packed. Journalists, law students, local residents. The spectacle was underway. Prosecutors painted her as a jealous, possessive girlfriend who couldn't bear the thought of being rejected. She'd found out about Ryan's date with the beauty queen and snapped. She went to his apartment that night not to reconcile, but to kill. Her defense team clung to the self-defense argument. They claimed Ryan had been verbally and emotionally abusive, that Shayna was acting out of trauma and fear. But there was no evidence of physical abuse. No bruises, no marks, no hospital visits, no police reports. The jury didn't buy it. After 5 hours of deliberation, they found her guilty of murder. She was sentenced to 40 years in prison. But the story didn't end there. In 2016, Shayna was granted a new trial. It turned out that one of the jurors in her original case had been a convicted felon, and under Kentucky law, that invalidated the verdict. Shayna would get another chance to sway a new jury. She doubled down on her abuse claims. Her lawyers now argued that she had suffered from battered woman syndrome, that her erratic behavior after the shooting was the result of post-traumatic stress. The second trial was even more sensational than the first. More texts were read aloud. Ryan's friends testified about how fearful he had become in the final days of his life. And then came a surprise. Audrey Bolt, the pageant queen, took the stand. She described how Ryan had messaged her, excited about meeting someone new. He had told her he was trying to end a toxic relationship. She had no idea she'd be the last person he was trying to reach before his death. In August 2018, the jury returned the same verdict: guilty of murder. This time, Shayna was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 20 years. Jessica and Lisa Carter Poston, Ryan's cousins, wept quietly in the courtroom. Ryan's parents remained composed, but the grief was etched into their faces. Their only son, the bright and promising young attorney, was gone, murdered in cold blood by someone he once trusted. In the months following the verdict, Shayna appealed again, alleging bias, errors, and unfairness. Her face appeared on true crime shows. She gave interviews. She still insisted she was the victim. But the evidence didn't lie. Shot. Multiple after he was already on the ground. A dance in the interrogation room. A haunting quote. "I did it because I loved him so much. I couldn't let him leave me." Today, Shayna Hubers remains incarcerated in Kentucky Correctional Institution for Women. She'll be eligible for parole in her 40s. Whether or not she's released, the story of Ryan Poston's murder remains one of the most disturbing examples of obsession turned lethal. He tried to end things. He tried to be polite. He tried to move on. But Shayna Michelle Hubers wasn't ready to let go. And in the end, she made sure no one else would have him either. For more chilling episodes like this, subscribe to Killer Cases.